welcome to September's Patreon tutorial of the month for my own bug catcher Hayley's Patreon page. Woohoo! I wanted to start off by both apologizing and thanking you guys for being so patient with me. I have excuses for why it took so long, but they're not very good ones. It was just a lot more stressful of a month than I expected it to be, so it's taken me a long time to actually get to the point where I can record this, but it's here, and that's kind of nice because you have 3 tutorials from me this month since my week tutorials for Suyu and Uraraka are coming lickety-split. They've already been recorded, so that will help. But seriously, thank you. I really don't think that I could put into words how much I appreciate you guys. You've been like so supportive and incredible, and it's just, it means the world to me. Thanks for sticking with me, and here we go. I'm gonna teach you how to make a Keyblade. The tutorial for this is going to be a little bit different from the ones I've made in the past. If you've watched my YouTube videos before, they are almost entirely recording of what I'm doing. I wasn't able to actually do that with a lot of the process for this just because the materials that I worked with and what I did with them, it was a little bit dangerous to try to put my camera directly in those situations. So you're gonna have a lot of me talking at you right now and just a few videos, but I'm gonna try to make it as clear and concise as possible. And also, it's kind of nice because it's a very broad tutorial. So the techniques that I used to make this you could put towards any Keyblade. A normal Keyblade, or if you want to make the Oath Keeper or Kairi's Keyblade, you could use the same materials and same sort of general things that I did to make anything. Let me get into Pumpkinhead territory. Alright, so here's a list of the materials that I used and the materials that you will need if you're making something like this. That's going to be a large sheet of plywood. Mine was about 3 inches thick. I got it a lot thicker than I thought I would need because I sanded down a ton. It's going to get smaller, it's going to get thinner. The largest points are going to be the 3 inches, but on mine, those are so few and far between. Like, this does not look like 3 inches because so much of it is shaved off. So get a little bit bigger than you think you need, and that'll end up being the right size. Woodworking materials, so that is like a bandsaw, a Dremel, sandpaper, wood glue, wood filler, that sort of stuff. Just anything that you can use to treat and prepare and work with wood and make it do your bidding. You'll need clay, 2-part silicone mold mix, 2-part resin mix, paint, and then a chain of your choice. Alright, so let's get started. One of the most important parts of a project like this is going to be the template that you use. I was lucky because I ended up finding one that was just a flat reference photo. So it was just the top of the pumpkin head, and it gave me a pretty concise view of what I needed to work with and what I needed the dimensions to look like. Once you find something like that, or something close to that, you want to go and print it off so that you can transfer it to whatever material you're using, which for me was wood. Using somewhere like posters.com is a really good idea. It's free, and as long as you just have a basic printer, it'll print out in sheets, and then I just tape them together and cut them out and then transfer them to my material. After making sure that the tracing is completely perfect and has the right shape and both of the sides are symmetrical, you are gonna want to cut it out. You have got to be completely focused when you're doing this part. It's incredibly dangerous. I'm not gonna lie to you. It scared me a lot. So the fact that I probably wouldn't have even been able to do it if I didn't have help. Like, I'm convinced that I would have lost something. So just be careful. Better safe than sorry. Once you cut it out, the hard part is done. The hard part. Now comes the part where you just spend your entire life covered in little little tiny grains of wood. It's time to sand. Sanding this bad boy down was 99% of the process. It's literally, it's painful to talk about it because it's not a hard project. It's a very, very easy thing to make as long as you can get that wood cut out. All you gotta do is sand. That's literally it. Sandpaper, in the littler parts, so like this part, these parts up here, a Dremel comes in really handy. I use sandpaper for a lot of it because, oh, hello. Hello. Can I help you? Using sandpaper in the narrower areas felt a lot safer to me, but there were some that needed to be taken down so much that the Dremel was a lot more convenient. Just use your best judgment when you're doing stuff like that. Again, power tools are no joke. Don't hurt yourself, it's not worth it. You can do it other ways, you just gotta be careful and patient with yourself. It took me probably a month just to do the sanding on this, and that is to be expected. Don't be discouraged if you think it's taking super long, and don't get discouraged if it turns out bumpy or starts looking weird because, especially if you're like me and it was your first time working with any type of like actual tool or with wood, it's not going to turn out perfect. You can always build stuff back up just like you can sand it down. That's why wood is such an awesome material to use. And that's why the wood glue and the wood filler are so important. Once you are completely done sanding it, go over the entire thing with wood glue. Multiple layers, thick layers. Make sure that you're not laying it on so thick or so thin that it's going to pool and look funky, because that is a little bit hard to deal with. Just put on a bunch of layers, give them a day to dry, put on more layers, give them a day to dry. You want to put on a lot of wood glue. Wood glue is going to not only make it look a lot smoother, but it's also going to make your Keyblade sturdy. An issue I had is right here, because it's so thin, it snapped off. Wood glue fixed it and kept it in place, which it's a nightmare, and like I'm always worried about it happening again, but knowing that that wood glue has been put all over the entire thing like gives me peace of mind, because I know it's gonna work. Wood glue is solid as a rock. It'll also be thick enough to fill smaller holes, but if you have larger holes or were like me and you got a little Dremel happy and it started getting waves, using wood filler or some type of plaster is a really, really good idea to get it smooth. That's actually what I used on this part mostly because it was very, very bumpy the first time I entered it at Youmacon. Just having that plaster, it's so simple and it fills in everything and you can sand it down so easy. Build it up, sand it down, build it up, sand it down, build it up, sand it down. Once you're done wood gluing and filling everything with your plaster or wood filler, go ahead and give it a coat of primer. Primer is really, really important because it'll show your prop in a whole different light. So if there are little holes that you might not have seen because of the color or because of whatever the heck, I don't know, because of science or God's magic and wisdom, putting a coat of primer on is going to show them to you in a different way. It's going to show you your whole thing and you're going to see it in a new light and you're going to say, hey, didn't notice that there before, and then you're going to know to fix it. Primer is really important, and like primer is really important because if you use a spray paint, it's going to be weird to sand down. I made that mistake with this, and my spray paint actually was texturized a little bit. It was sort of rubbery, and sanding it was a nightmare. So just make sure that you're getting a plain primer. After this, you're almost home free. Like you can relax, my dude. You're doing great. There's only like 2 more things that you have to do. One of them is going to be painting the white stripes. That's all it takes. You just gotta paint the white stripes. No big weird equation to be done here. I just free painted them by hand. They're a little bit bumpy, but the nice thing is because black is a very forgiving color for the Pumpkinhead, I made the white line and it looked really bad, and then I went like a real slow teeny tiny brush with black paint along the white line to fill in like the little wiggles from my hand shaking. and it looks okay. The next thing you'll have to do is make your details. For me, that was Jack and a pumpkin. First thing I started out with was model magic. I will probably use this for all of my modeling stuff for casting, because a lot of the clays that people normally use are way too expensive for someone like me. I can't afford to use monster clay for something like this. And you know, this is cheap. I got it at my local Joann's. I used a 50% off coupon. I still have a ton left. It's held up all this time. It's been over a year since I made this costume, and these are still kicking. I would definitely recommend it, and it's really, really easy to work with. No mess, just a good time. It's like playing with Play-Doh, but then you have a thing after, and it stays a thing. After you have made your little buddy, I don't know what to call it, and it has dried completely, you're just gonna want to make a mold of him. I did this just by putting it down on some poster board, like the really thick kind, and making some little walls with hot glue and that same poster board, and I used a silicone mix. It can seem really intimidating to do something like this, but this was my first time. It's so simple. All you have to do is make sure that you're mixing your stuff properly, but just follow the instructions and you'll be perfectly fine. So then you have this mold. Again, make sure that it dries before you try to take it apart or you're gonna have a bad time. But if you do that, then it'll be good and you'll have this little dude. And with that little dude, you can make this little dude. So this is another pumpkin that I made just, I don't remember why, because I felt like making a pumpkin. There's not always a reason for things, you guys. Sometimes I just do them. But all you have to do is put the resin in here and wait for it to dry. Sitting and waiting is the name of the game. After that, you're mostly done. All you have to do is paint your friends and then put them on there and then attach the chain. Which, oh, I guess I should explain that. It's pretty simple. Chain goes here. I made sure that mine was made out of plastic just because metal is heavy and I have weak noodle arms. But I used just like a ringlet, like it's just a little metal ring. And I drilled a hole in the bottom and the ring goes through the hole and then it goes around one end of the chain. And then you do the same thing with this tiny boy. And you're finished. You got yourself a Keyblade. Do good with it. Only good. Do as Sora would do. Which is good. If you guys have literally any questions at all, whether it's about more on this Keyblade, or how to make a different Keyblade, or what my favorite color is, or what your favorite color is, you can ask me what I think about that. I can always weigh in. Anything at all, I'm here for you guys. And I really appreciate, again, you guys being here for me. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys later. Bye.